G'day mate, welcome to Dyson Sphere with me, JD, and of course I have the wonderful Icarus with me today, and as you can see, Icarus has had a small makeover. We're going to be talking about the Icarus evolution, and Icarus evolved, just slightly during this update. So, first off, let's talk about Icarus. So, under the Mecha panel, we've got a new little GUI down here, which is the armor customizer. Because with this giant brand new patch, some things have changed, including actually not past this patch, but previous patch, we've got a whole bunch of idle animations for Icarus. So, now you actually have an excuse to sit around and watch him hang around and wait. Alright, so in the armor customization panel, we can see Icarus has had a small update. In fact, my particular Icarus has a bunch of wings. So we have had the devs add a whole bunch of customization you can do to your Icarus to make him yours, to make him unique, to make him fully customizable. Everything from color codes down to extra pieces. So actually, if I swing around to the back and I turn off these wing sections, I can remove Icarus's wings, which right wing one. There we go. I think that's all. Yes. So we can remove wing sections, we can add wing sections. Wing sections are a brand new part of this particular update. Now, this feature does require you to gather the materials to, actually make the armor, and does have a couple of buffs here, but the devs have said that at the moment this is all cosmetic. It doesn't actually have any impact in the game until the combat update, which is due out later on this year. So, for the moment, play with your customization, add some customization. I'm personally secretly waiting for somebody to do a complete Optimus Prime skin, because I gotta say, I'm a Transformers fan. At the same time, the devs did give us 3 pre-made blueprints, because yes, you can copy and save these and share them with your friends. Hence, if anybody wants to do that that Optimus Prime skin, I'm waiting. So we have a simple blue one, which it definitely has a Transformers feel to it. We have the green one, which does not have a Transformers feel to it, not unless we're talking Transformers from the 80s. And then, of course, we have the lovely white one, which I gotta admit I'm a little bit of a fan of currently. It definitely looks a little bit industrial. But yes, we have blueprints, so you can share these with your friends. As I said, I am definitely waiting for somebody to share some blueprints with me. At the same time, speaking of blueprints, we've had a couple of updates to the game that now involve a whole bunch of blueprints, starting with Dyson Spheres. So as we can see, the Dyson Sphere interface, basically the same, couple of small changes. First off, pausing the time clock is now up in the top left-hand corner. On top of that, we can actually choose different spheres. So if I go over to my Magnar system, where I have one layer all the way out here. I have another layer over the top. I have a very, very small, very, very tiny layer in the middle. And I actually have this layer here that we're currently launching rockets for. We can see that there are details down the left-hand side that we can actually change, and what we can actually view now to see a total progress of the actual Dyson Sphere. So, a couple of things we may notice. First off, previously, this was a really important one. When you were making your Dyson Sphere, you had no sort of knowledge, exact knowledge, not without a lot of maths, with a tiny bit of estimation thrown in, how much power you were generating from your Dyson Sphere, and then how much you were using. We now have a nice interface here where we can just double check, and this is going to apply to obviously all the planets in the system. So very, very nice feature here. On top of that, if we go back to shell number 1, I believe, yes, shell number 1, I can now see how many structure points I have planned, how many rockets are on their way, and how many are already constructed. And if I resume this, we should see these numbers change in real time, which is a great feature. On top of that, this is the part that I do really, really like. I'd actually copy either just the selected layer or all the layers and move them to another planet. So if we go across to, let's go to the Taka system. So the Taka system, if I would really like you to remind to subscribe to JD, because that's an important thing that I should really remind you of right now. Go down and click that little subscribe button if you enjoy Dyson Sphere videos. We can see that I can now select layer number 2, and I can copy layer number 2, and I can go to any other planet and paste this. Now, this also has these details up here, which were always hidden previously. You'd have to write them down when you made every new layer. So what the inclination was and the longitude, just in case you want to have some sort of geometric pattern. But that's now been fixed. We can now look at those past, or look at those previously. On top of that, we now have solar sails distribution. So we can see how long the solar sails are lasting in a swarm, because they do have a swarm back on the home planet. And, yeah, how quickly they're being absorbed, all that sort of stuff. So we have had a massive update to this system. On top of that, if I go back to, let's go to Mecha. Yeah, Mecha. If I add a new layer, let's go with, 40 degrees, longitude. Looks good, create, and then I paste. Gonna get that warning that when I paste this, everything else get removed. And I can now remind you once again to sub to JD at a 40-degree angle backwards, because we can now copy and paste blueprints, which is such an amazing feature. Again, if I go back to the Taka system, and can I copy the swarm blueprint? Go to, not manga, Micho, paste. Okay. We can now see that I have all those different swarms up and running. The other important feature is you can now delete the first layer of the Dyson shell, which means we actually have 10 layers now. Previously you only had 9 because the first layer you just couldn't remove. Speaking of other things that the devs have added, after we, let's set you to 0. After we make a new layer, we actually have a couple of new choices. So we have the square system that we had before. We had the geometric system. We also now have another geometric system. I have no idea if this is going to be better or worse. I guess it all comes down to your design preferences. And we also have another one which, another different geometric system. At least this doesn't have, really, really tiny triangles anywhere. I guess it does at the points. Yeah. So we've got a couple of new features for the Dyson Shell and Dyson Sphere, Dyson Swarm. A couple of new features around here, but that's not all as part of this update. We've had a couple of important features we need to talk about. The first one being the advanced miner, because oh my gosh, setting up miners on planets, outposting, late game, got really tedious. And you might notice that I have drones just coming and picking up the ore directly, because that's how these babies work. So we pop them down. Actually, I'm wander across to this one, who happens to be flat. Yeah. Actually, let's just check out what they cost to build. There we go. So they do require titanium alloy, some frame material, some supermagnetic rings, some quantum chips, and a rare material, the optical grating crystal. I am not a fan, I've said it before, I'm not a fan of needing rare materials to make buildings, not unless there's an alternative way to make rare materials, just in case you run out. But this is what the devs have chosen to do, and we have an advanced mining machine. Now, there's a couple of things I need to talk about here. One, the mining speed. So, of course, the little one does 144 per minute per vein. The big one does 288, so it actually mines twice as fast. The power consumption for little one is 420 kilowatts. The big one's 2.94 megawatts. It's a bit of a power-hungry beast. But, as I mentioned, does have the drones, as I said. And if we just take everything and delete it, we can see that it does a wonderful job of mining. On top of that, it has this gathering speed boost. So if I drag this up, it mines a little bit faster. Just a little bit faster. Massive, massive, massive change. But yeah, power consumption does go through the roof up to 26 megawatts compared to the 2 we started with at 300 times speed. So something to be warned. On top of that, you may notice that there's a couple of belt ports. So we have 3, 6, 9 belt ports around the outside, which means if I grab a miner and put it here, I have a couple of choices. I can either take the extra materials that I couldn't manage to get the large miner to cover and push them in, or I can take the extra materials and run them out. Same applies to this one, and this is another beauty of the system. I can pop it down and not power it, and just power the miners, and have the miners just feed the items in. Now, of course, drones are going to come from the other end to here. So, yeah, we've already got drones heading over to pick up what little bit of copper I've managed to mine and take it away from an unpowered station. So, really, really cool. The other thing the devs have added, which makes a massive difference, is we now have a cargo stacking count. Now, cargo stacking, we're going to have to go through that a little bit. It's going to need some more explanation. First off, we're going to jump into the tech tree, because there's been a couple of updates here. So, first off, logistic drones, and of course the logistics vessels. They've had a tiny bit of an update. You remember they used to max out at 100 for a drone and 2,000 for a vessel? Well, I've completed off the tech tree, and we can see that my drones now actually carry 200, and my vessels carry 2,000. Yep, the devs have gone and doubled up the capacity. Also, they've also increased the capacity of a tower. So this guy now maxed out at 20,000 rather than 10,000. So we can now upgrade the capacity of a tower plus the amount the drones can carry. We're still stuck with 50 of the drones and 10 of the vessels, which I think is perfectly fine. They can just now have a much larger buffer. On top of that, as I mentioned, that cargo capacity thing. So previously, we'd have a belt, and a belt would carry one item. One item was that was it. The devs added the... you're not going to tell me what you are. You are the automatic piler. And, of course, I've got the fastest belt in the world. It's hard to see. But we're bringing in one item. We're actually stacking one item on top of another to give us two items. And can I slow this build down at all? Yes, let's chop that. It's not really slowing down yet. There we go. It's starting to back up. Okay, so I have one item stacked on top of a second item, giving me two items stacked up. And then if I run it through a piler again, I can actually take two items and stack them on top of one another to give me 4 items. Which means we've moved from a belt maxing out at 30 items per second to, if I stack 2 on top of one another, gives me 60 items per second. And if I stack 2 on top of 2, technically gives me 120 items per second. And if I'm really, really lucky, we might see one. You can also get a 3 stack. 2 stack, 2 stack, 2 stack. No, they're all 2 stacks. Yeah, it's either going to move too fast or not, or not fast enough. So yes, we can also have a 3 stack. So there's a couple of different choices there. On top of that, your mining drones will automatically stack items. So as we can see, we have an output cargo stack count. At the moment, I've got it set to 1. We can automatically turn on the tech limit. So I actually researched all that to 4, so they'll automatically stack to 4. But you can manually set this to 1, 2, 3, or 4, whichever you prefer. Let's be honest, we're going to turn on the tech limit. We're just going to run as fast as possible. Also means our output towers, same story. At the moment, this guy is outputting at the current chosen stack of 1. If I slide this up to 2, everything becomes 2 high. 3, we can see everything is now stacked 3 items high. Or, of course, 4, and we can go with stacks and stacks of material, which means I don't need these pilers anymore. It also means that when it comes into a machine, the machine's going to grab 4 items at once. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to output 4 items at once. In fact, as we can see from this belt, unless we're using a piler on the output, it's still maxed out at 30 items per second. But it is one hell of a change. The other thing you might notice is I might have little arrows on my items because a long time ago, in a Dyson Sphere far, far away, we had... where is it? It was accelerant. It was the accelerant. It was down here somewhere. It's now been moved. We now have the Proliferator Mark 1 with the Proliferator Mark 2 with the Proliferator Mark 3. which does change things up. In fact, I actually have a little build right here with this running. The Proliferator is, in the Factorio terms, basically like a beacon or a module. So, when we make Accelerant Mark 1, it has a choice, and it is a choice. You can have either or. You can have 12.5% extra products going through your machines, or you can have a production speed up of 25%, and whichever you choose, you're going to have an energy consumption increase of 30%. Moving on to the next step, so if we use the Mark 1 to convert it to Mark 2, we go up to twice as many sprays. That's an important number. Also, 20% extra products, 50% extra speed up, and 70% extra energy consumption. And finally, the Mark 3 with 60 sprays per one of these little Proliferator capsules, with 25% extra products, 100% speed up, and 150% extra production. Once we run those into and through a spray coater, they come out the other side with this little arrow on it, and we can see we have Proliferator effect 4 items because they are in a stack of 4. We have 25% extra products, 100% extra speed up, and then when I actually get these over to the smelter, I have a couple of choices. So I can either have 25% extra products, or I can swap this across and go speed, and we can see it flies. But if I leave it with the production, each time this blue circle completes, I get free products. So it's a big change. It's going to really, really radically change up how bases work. It also means that the items you need for spray coating, being coal, diamonds, and then carbon nanotubes. Carbon nanotubes just got way, way, way more important. Along with that, the actual spraying machine is actually pretty easy to build. It is steel, a couple of plasma exciters, along with some circuit boards and some microcrystalline components. So microcrystalline components now have 2 jobs in life. Pretty much it. Yeah, pretty much it. Processors and, of course, the spray coater. Speaking of new buildings, we also really only applies to lava planets. We have... I had some. I put them down. We have the geothermal power. Now, something I've noticed is every lava planet seems to have a different amount of geothermal. I don't know why. I'm not sure. It's brand new. The update's only been out for a couple of hours at this stage. So maybe that's different for every planet. Maybe it's down to how quickly you're using it. Maybe it's a random number because I've got 3 different numbers from here. Maybe it's just about how much lava's around them. But yes, they do have a considerable amount of power. 2.4 megawatts. So not really for your late game, but definitely for your early and mid game. That's a significant amount of power fairly quickly, fairly easily. They're not super expensive to build. The hardest thing is going to be the good old super magnetic rings, but one hell of a change. So that's really it for this particular update in the Dyson Sphere, and it's sort of it for this video as well. We have had a bunch of updates. It's going to radically change the way the game has been played and is going to continue being played. But there's also a whole bunch of minor fixes and minor updates as well. I actually had problems previously with the game and optimization. I actually maxed out the game because this particular save does 60 science per second. Yeah, I got 2 full blue belts going to labs as fast as possible. And I'm no longer at a CPU cap. I actually have some wiggle room to move. Also, save files. Save files have had a massive update and a massive change. This particular save only saved about 2 megabytes off the 400 megabyte save file, but my previous save from my previous series, I went from a 600 meg save down to a 400 mega save. And I know Icarus, I'm moving. All right, well, with Icarus on board, we're going to call it here for this video. As always, if you like this video, you like these sorts of updates, by all means click the subscribe button. I am probably planning a brand new Let's Play. By all means, down in the comment section, tell me, would you like to see a new Let's Play of Dyson Sphere? And I think with that done and that said, we're going to call this video here. So thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the very next video. All right, bye.